Hey, guys! It's good to be back to see you again. Hope everybody had a happy holiday. We still got the holiday still coming up, still pretty soon. Here we got the New Year's Eve. I don't want to see people partying too hard, but like we said, when it comes to Christmas, we know Jesus is the reason for the season
That's
from that
right.
standpoint and everything. So it's always good to have fun and get your gifts and all the
Right.
parties and stuff like that. But with that being said, we're believers, and that's what this organization is based on, the National Association for Real Estate Brokers. And first and foremost, before I really get cranky, because you guys know I love to talk, I'm gonna start off with a prayer. I'm gonna start off with a prayer.
Come on, pray us in, Chris.
Mhm. Heavenly Father, we first and foremost thank you for letting us be in your presence, God. We thank you for the reason for the season, like I just said a few minutes ago, for your son, Jesus Christ. And we thank you for all the blessings you bestow upon us on a day-to-day basis, Father. It's just a blessing for people to realize, just for us to wake up and to be able to walk and talk and do the things that we do. It's a blessing within itself. And anything else is just gravy on the potatoes, Father, because, if you didn't wake us up, we wouldn't have to be worried about anything else because we would be in a better place with you, but we know you still have things for us here to do on earth. And being a part of this organization, that God, we want to be stewards of the resources you've given us and the talents and the knowledge that you've given us as well. So we can further the organization for the National Association for Real Estate Brokers on a day-to-day basis. Help everybody to be safe and healthy, dear God, and not only think about themselves, but to think of others and to have the spirit of, well, what would Jesus do? We know he had love for everyone and everything he did. These are the blessed ways. In his son's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I'm gonna tell you, let me find out you pastoring. I feel like I need to give you an offering. Thank you so much, Chris.
Well, Roz, I'm gonna kick it off with you because one reason we're missing one of our counterparts is because she's visiting her family in the Memphis, Tennessee area, and we want to make sure that she has. I should have prayed for that too. Travel
Yeah.
angels for her because she's on her way back, and anybody else who's traveling out there to be safe and be cognizant of what's going on from that standpoint. So our hearts are with Rhonda. And
Yes.
I actually talked to her earlier today. She's like,
Right.
I'm gonna try to get on the show. I'm gonna pull over. I said, no, sweetie, you just take your
Yeah.
time. You
Yes.
focus on being on that road so you can be in the right frame of mind and just do what you need to do to get back here safely. I said, we're going to have plenty of shows here to come. So with that being
Exactly.
said, I'm kind of interested. What did you guys do for the holiday?
You know what? We kind of did a non-traditional thing. First and foremost, coming out of the pandemic and sheltering in place, that's kind of put a wedge, in how people do life, period. But this year is kind of special for us. My husband and I have some personal goals and things that we are achieving this year. One is including selling our house and buying another house. Yay. Woo. So I get to actually be in the seat of me, like I help other buyers, and I'm telling you, it hits different when it's you.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we are toughing through some things, the delays and the bottleneck and supply chain, and just delay after delay after delay. But woo, keep your fingers crossed, prayers up. We are closing this week. But I said all that to say, we told our family, our children, our immediate children, hey, you know what, this year, we actually told them that at the beginning of this year because we wanted to see something different for them. I think in general, not all, but there's kind of like a spirit of entitlement in our younger generations. And
Exactly.
the expectation is what you got for me, what you gonna do for me, you supposed to. And so we told them, don't get us any gifts. We're not gonna get you any gifts this year. We want you to adopt a family.
I'm gonna cut you off. How'd that go when you made that statement?
It was crickets, crickets. It's like kind of on the cool. They're like, yeah, we understand, Mama, but really, Nana, Papa, but really, we nothing. We ain't get nothing. So, we told them to adopt a family, pay, do something for someone else that cannot pay you back. It may be a stranger. It may be someone that would never financially be able to pay them back. But we did that so that we could have the culture of giving and what that is about, because that's really what Christmas was about, was the gift of
Mhm.
baby Jesus, our greatest gift. So yeah,
Exactly.
and of course we went over to my daughter's house. We had a seafood boil. We've never done that before at that magnitude. So all things seafood, and it's probably what's going on with my stomach today, Chris. So what y'all? What did y'all do?
Oh, what we did, we always go to a relative's house over in the Trophy Club every year,
Hmm.
and did our usual, like I said, you see, with the Louisiana roots that we have. So we always kind of do a combination, a little bit of everything. We have your
Yeah.
traditional stuff that we always do to
Ooh, yummy.
from the gumbo and some of the other seafood dishes to the traditional stuff. I fried a turkey. We had crown roast, we had lamb chops, we had ham, greens, you name it, macaroni and cheese, potato salad, yam. So, like I said, we had a combination of and two types of dressing. Connie makes a phenomenal cornbread dressing, then one of the other relatives
Mm.
makes a phenomenal seafood dressing. So, you name it. I'm probably leaving some stuff out. Then they had a ton of desserts. And what I like to do a lot of times, people think I'm kind of goofy and weird, but I eat my dessert a lot of times before I eat my main meal, which I'll see me do on many
Wow.
occasions. So,
Yeah, yeah,
start
yeah.
off with dessert as my appetizer, and people are like, "Ain't that gonna mess up your appetite?" I said, "No, it will not." So I got my grub on, did all my eating from that standpoint, and then, of course, dessert again. So you just constantly eating all day long, and
All
same
day.
thing, exchange gifts, and then too is this the first my daughter and my new son-in-law they stayed with us, on a Christmas Eve, and we're trying to start a different tradition. We had some other family come over where we made some chili and did some things on Christmas Eve. My mom is here, our biggest cheerleader and our biggest fan.
We love you,
So
Miss Ross.
yes, indeed. So that's pretty much all we did, and just trying to relax a little bit. I mean, I took a half a day on Friday, Christmas Eve, but it's back to business for me. I'm back working again and everything, trying to make sure making things happen from that
But
standpoint.
did you really take off, or did you take those emergency calls where somebody had a busted pipe plumbing? Because you always ducking
Well,
off.
like I said, I guess do my air quotes. Technically, I'm never always off, but I did have some calls like that, and that's one thing about me. They know people say I didn't want. If somebody actually called me, and I didn't realize they had called me, and I called them back. They said you could have waited until Monday. I said no, I just wanted to make sure you were taken care of, and I'm glad they did because they thought it wasn't as bad as it was, and I had some of these companies I work with and deal with, where we have to go out there and check them out and see what needed to be done. So we got them squared away from that standpoint.
Oh, that's awesome. What's that part of that consultation and what do you?
Consultation, consultation, like you said, because sometimes people don't think it's bad. They thought it wasn't as bad as they thought it was until they said, "I'm glad you did," because if they wouldn't have come out, um, the water damage would have probably been more substantial just sitting over there for a few days. So,
Yeah,
it got on the water. Plus, that would increase the cost for them as well. So I'm glad the people went out there and took care of them from that standpoint.
absolutely.
But one thing I'm getting excited about too, because we're talking about preparing for 2022,
Yes,
and we're talking about recharging and home buying power and everything. And just
yes,
excited to talk about that today, amongst other things, because as we discussed this, and even my wife said, even with her couple, she's in the auto finance, and coming down the pike, they said, the interest rates are going to be going up. Well, not going up; they have gone up, and going to continue to go up for a while until
right.
what did you say, until 2024. So
Right. Well, yeah, what we were talking about was this inflation and,
mhm,
going into 2022 and 23, what the government, what our economy is going to be doing to try to cut inflation because the truth is if those interest rates go up and as they are, that really puts a lot of prospective home buyers and home buyers that were already marginal, with that debt
mhm,
to income ratio being so big on the back end, that's going to definitely knock them out of the game, Chris. Not
mhm,
unless one of two things happen. They exponentially get a windfall of money to come in to
right,
offset a larger down payment, or what? Get another increase in their income from some other source, but then decrease their debt, almost,
mhm,
wipe out their debt. I mean, those are the two ways to increase your buying power. So, yeah, I understand what, they're trying to do, and that's to slow things down. Inventory is still down historically lower, over 50% less
right,
inventory. And, sellers are like, I know it's a good time to sell, but most sellers I'm seeing are not upsizing or downsizing, they may be moving out of the state, relocating, going with family. So, and why are they doing that? Like you said before, a lot of people, they're not going to sell unless they can get more bang for their buck. But with the
Mm-hmm.
prices and the prices of material going up, I mean, we're seeing neighborhoods astronomically go up double digits in market value, up to 25, almost 30% in some
Right.
areas. And that's really unheard of. So as we're preparing for 2022 and trying to empower the home buyer, and especially what NAREB stands for, we're trying to bridge that gap for the Black and brown, our African American community, to
Mm-hmm.
empower them in homeownership. So now we're having to face this. So Chris, what do you really foresee happening, as our initiative won't change and we're going to still be here educating? What do you see is going to happen, and
Well, like I
how would that affect people in terms of purchasing insurance, whether it be life insurance, whether it be auto insurance, homeowner insurance?
Well, it's good that you said that, because one of the things I'm finding out too, like I said, talking with you and Rhonda and all the people we deal with in this, the other realtors that we deal with in this industry, I've already seen some situations with some people that I was trying to write the insurance on for their home, have actually come into a situation to where it's come to a halt for some people because, like I said, the interest rates have gone up, and that has made a detrimental effect on them. To where I know a couple of people I was writing the homeowners insurance for, they had to back out, or they were forced to back out because those interest rates were going up. And
Wow.
once again, that I can say it's the dirty word. It just depends on, it can be good or bad on that debt to income ratio, but that threw their debt to income ratio off from that standpoint. So from an insurance standpoint, interest rates, how it affects me on the insurance side, that's why I have to really work closely, like I work with you and Rhonda and other people in the industry, other realtors and mortgage people as well, because I try to help control that as much as I can by making sure that I analyze when I'm talking to them, getting all the information from them that I can in order to mitigate, them having any kind of problems from a standpoint, because claims can have an effect on that situation as well, not necessarily from an inflation standpoint, but trying to make sure I put all the ducks in a row that I can from my side, making sure that the area that they're looking at, make sure they have the proper coverages too, because I said something can be just as bad as not having enough coverage. It's having too much coverage that you don't need, from that standpoint. So that's why I talk to you guys to find out what's going on when it regards to, like, when it comes to appraisals and different things of that nature, because people don't realize, you have replacement costs with dwelling, which means the amount of money it would cost to replace a house, God forbid, if it would burn down to the ground from that standpoint. But then you have market value. And I think we've talked about this before as well, that people have to
Well,
understand. I'm
well,
sorry, go ahead.
let me interject right there because that is a big topic. Market value versus
Mhm.
replacement value. But
Exactly.
at the accelerated rate that these homes are increasing in value, as
Mhm.
supply cost increase, labor cost increase,
Mhm.
how does your insurance company ascertain what the rate is going to be in terms of the replacement value? How do you calculate that? How do y'all keep up with that?
Well, I mean, that's a pay grade, a few pay grades ahead of where I am, but to kind of give you a kind of ballpark feel of what they look at, they do take those kind of things in consideration, supply chain issues and things of that nature. And I'm gonna back up a little bit further. One thing that you're gonna realize, I don't care if it's with any insurance company for the most part, people don't realize, especially in North Texas, your insurance is gonna go up pretty much every year. That's pretty much a given. And the main reason is gonna be
Well,
because of weather.
I was going to say, explain why.
The main reason is because of weather. Here in Texas, especially North Texas, we know they always factor in we're going to have hailstorms. And you probably heard me say this a jillion times. It's not if, it's when. When we're going to get them, we're never going to
Right,
get them. It's if and when and how bad is it going to be. So let's not fast forward, let's rewind a little bit, going back to February when they said Snowmageddon came through. Okay, they already calculated approximately how much they think it's going to be when it comes to the hailstorms and for weather-related issues, they already have that in there. So when you have a snowmageddon come in that you weren't anticipating, that was probably one of the worst weather events or just events, period,
Wow.
from an insurance standpoint in Texas history. Harvey was real bad. It caused a lot of damage to homes and disrupted people's lives from a financial standpoint. But when you think about Harvey, as bad as it was and how expensive it was more or less dictated for that coastal region, kind of along the coast, Houston, the outlying areas like that. We had the Snowmageddon. Probably, I'm gonna say, probably caused 85% of the or 90% of the state was affected. And even if it didn't directly hit you storm-wise, some of the other grid issues and everything still were affected by the weather, but still might have caused some other people to have some problems as well. So when you have a situation like that come up that you weren't even anticipating, then that's going to make rate potentially go up as well. As I said, I keep cross my eyes, keep my eyes, my fingers crossed with everything, because when you have a situation like that happen and you're not anticipating it, that can be very disruptive from that standpoint.
Right. Well, I've always wanted to know about that. How does your industry keep up with the rate of acceleration of inflation? And, as we were talking about inflation, and again, how these interest rates are going to be increasing. Goodness, the Fed is going to increase the rate 3 times in 2022. Like I said before, these buyers who are on the fence, who will be priced out. I don't have the mathematical formula, but let's just say 1% increase in the interest rate could affect somebody's buying power by 10%. By 10%. So if they were looking at a $300,000 home, now they have just basically been reduced 30,000 in terms of the home that they can afford. So that's pretty significant. Because when you're bumping up somebody's home search, 5,000, 10,000, praying and hoping that a seller would be desperate enough to take a lower offer, to consider someone who was only approved for 300. Now the interest rate has increased a 1%. So if that's taking away 10% of their buying power, and properties, remember I said, are continuing to accelerate in market value, that gap, Chris, and it's unfolding right before me. You can see that gap continuing to increase, and especially for my minorities. So where does that leave us? What can we do to help our African American, Black and Brown communities stay abreast and keep hope alive for their American dream? It's their right, it's their inheritance. And I would just offer this advice: continue to save. It's not the time to overspend. It's not the time to say, well, that season, it came and went for me. I almost got there. So instead, I'm going to get this car, my dream car. No. Now, I can't tell people what to do about their business, but even NAREB has the house, then the car initiative.
Right, exactly.
We know how much student loans, car payments, I call them mortgage payments on wheels. There's some people paying $800 to $1,000 a month just for a car note, and let alone insurance. So if you go and purchase that vehicle, it is your dream vehicle, because you can't buy right now. Well, guess what? You may have a 4-year, 5-year note or loan on that, and it's going to take you that much longer if you're not adding commensurate a salary that's healthy enough to keep up with the pace of now the debt that you have. So I wish Rhonda was on here to talk about it. Maybe she go back and replay and she can chime in and make some comments. So I would say
we'll make her do her homework, make sure she watches the show so she can go back and address some of these issues that we're talking about.
Yes. So save your money. And guess what? If you're on a job where you get a W-2, an employer, you have 401k, well, consider using that. Consider
Mm-hmm.
using that. That's your money anyway. That's your money anyway. You can borrow it from yourself, what, pretty
Yep.
much interest free, and pay yourself back. So that's another thing. Now's the time to tough it out. I know you may not want it to live with Barbara and Pookie Nim, but in this case, if you can huddle up with your family and say, hey, you bring your 2 cents to the table, we are going to save. We're going to live as minimalists. Chris, you text the other day, and this is all relevant. What did you say about the buying power of African Americans, but how long the dollar stays in the community?
Yeah.
And
Yep.
yeah, talk a little bit about that.
When they were talking about that, I was listening to the radio. I'm listening, Radio One, Kathy Hughes, and she has her moments that she talks about. And I think I heard her correctly. She said $1.3 trillion with a
Wow.
T, trillion dollars are spent out of the African American community. And I think we talked about this before too, that African Americans have we're not the biggest population as a percentage of United States of America. When it comes to spending money, we're the biggest. And she said out of 1.3 trillion, only 3% of that 1.3 trillion stays in our community. So all that other money is going elsewhere. And that's why we have to make sure that we, trying to spend money in our communities, because a lot of communities do a phenomenal job of making sure they keep that money like that in their communities. And kind of going back to what you said too. And I know in other communities as well, I see other ethnicities. Sometimes, like you said, sometimes they will live together for a while, as they say, stack their chips, save their money and everything like that, so they can branch out and do other things and stuff like that, which can be beneficial. I know sometimes we as African Americans, I don't think we do that as much. I'm not saying if you should, you shouldn't, but I've seen that be successful for other ethnicities. And sometimes not even from a home buying standpoint, sometimes they do that too, to build their wealth through getting a home, but also to start a business and stuff like that as well. And they kind of have that machine, that process going. But I'm going to go back to what we were talking about earlier, talking about market value and replacement cost.
Yes.
And that's one thing I've talked to you guys so much. Me as an agent, like I said, I try to be a one-stop shop that's trying to be an asset to all my customers. So I know enough just to be dangerous and know what's going on, but I understand to tell them too. I had a situation where they were trying to be out here in a certain area, it was Collin County, but their finances, because some of the things had gone up, I told them, I said, hey, you might want to readjust and maybe try a different part of town. And in fact, the same house, one of my customers already had a house with me with their homeowners insurance already, but they saw a house in Allen that they wanted. But that house in Allen, they ended up moving, I think, either to Lancaster or the DeSoto area, that same house. Once again, talking about market value, was $150,000 less over there than it was over in Allen. So I mean, they like being in this area, but they said, for some of the things they were trying to do personally for the growth of their family, they decided to make that move. So that's one of some of the things you have to take a look at. And going back to replacement costs too, because I had situations where somebody said, hey, I paid $400,000 for my house, why is the replacement cost so high? Why is the replacement cost $550? Well, you paid $400 for it, but that's how much it costs to replace a house. And I have seen scenarios and situations as well. Somebody say, hey, I paid $400,000 for this house, while the replacement cost only $225. But once again, that's that market value. The market value. Yeah, you paid $400 for it, but the replacement cost is only $250.
Right.
Vice versa, I've seen situations the other way around. You paid $400, but the replacement cost is $550. So that's what you look at from that standpoint, and that's how I try to instruct and consult with my customers as well when they're trying to buy a home, to make sure, if I'm not working with you guys directly, because I know talk to you guys about that, but whoever they're dealing with, I tell them, hey, you might want to have this conversation with your realtor and your mortgage person, so that they can help you out, and they need any help from me to make sure we have the parameters that are needed in order to get you in that house. And like we always say, don't only want you to be in that house, to stay in that house. And that's my job as an agent too. I want to make sure I put you in the best position to win.
Absolutely. NAREB, and if you can give just a little bit of history of NAREB and, what this organization stands for, Chris. And I really want to hear, as well as everybody else, what is your why? Why are you here? And how important is this initiative to you?
I mean, it's important initially to me because I would love to see everybody who wants to be in a home be in a home. And then
Mhm.
sometimes I tell people this all the time. I said, sometimes you have to help people get out of their own way. And I think that's what we do on a continual basis,
Absolutely.
individually with the real estate, with Rhonda, with the mortgage, with me, with the insurance, and the organization for the National Association for Real Estate Brokers as a whole. That's what we do, try to put people in a position to win. And I gotta tell people, we call ourselves realtists for the main reason is because it's anybody who deals with, the home buying process. And even like I tell people all the time, you don't even have to be even a realtor. It could be somebody who's just a general layperson who might not necessarily have to touch the home buying process, but you want to learn and find out different things. We welcome those people to join the organization as well. But a lot of people used to always ask me, they said, Chris, they said, why are you part of the National Association for Real Estate Brokers? You're not a real estate agent. I said, well, the main reason I joined the organization was because of the initiatives that they have, you know, the home, then the car, initiative and the different
Mhm.
things we do as well, because I'm very philanthropic and I'm very big on, doing things for community service and everything like that. And that's what this organization is about as well, because they do scholarships and they do, they partner with me when I do my co-drive, which is coming up at the next month. And then we're starting to take
Awesome.
co well, so we'll talk about that a little bit later in the show as well, from that standpoint. So it's very important to be a part of an organization like this. And I tell people sometimes it's not necessarily power in numbers unless it's the right numbers. I'd rather have a few strong people than a whole bunch of people who are not doing anything. But now if you can have a whole bunch of
Yeah.
strong people doing a whole bunch of good things,
Oh,
then
we
once
make
again,
it, we're moving the needle. Yes, we
yeah.
are moving the needle. Well, we appreciate you. What date and time is your event? Is it the coat drive that's coming up?
The co-drive is going to be, we're starting to take coats already now in my office at 8750 West Main in Frisco. And then we have another location. We're going to put it on a site, Services of Hope over in Dallas. I try to have different parts of the Metroplex to where people can drop off coats if they can't come out to Frisco. So it's 10 to 5 from my location, and it's going to be 10 to 5 for their location as well. And I might get that information for you as well to where Services of Hope is for the show in, so you can take stuff over there as well. And people always ask me, and why they said, Chris, they said, why do you wait so late to do it? Because once again, people need things all year round, and the organizations I support, whether it be Street Side Showers, whether it be Services of Hope or the Community Lifeline in McKinney, they say they are very appreciative of me doing it so much later because all the resources of coats and different things like that are kind of depleted early in the game.
Absolutely.
And then
Right.
two, we don't really get cold here normally. Like now, it's summertime. You just never know. In the state of
This
Texas,
is it's 80
I mean,
degrees. Lord.
it agrees exactly. Last Christmas we would bundle up coats, sweaters, thermal underwear, and this seriously. I mean, I had shorts on Saturday for Christmas, so
Wow.
it shows you how much the weather changes in Texas.
Absolutely. So if you're just joining us or if you're coming back to the replay, what is this all about? Well, we are realtists creating pathways to home ownership. We are here every second and fourth Tuesday. Yes,
Yep.
it is Tuesday. Yes, at 12 noon. I'm like, okay, what day? And wear so many hats. 12 noon Central Standard Time. We call it the hour of power. And we are the voice for NAREB. And we have collaborated and want to just, expand the footprint of this organization. And we just want to take the opportunity and time to say membership is open. We are looking for anyone, individual, whether you have a business, whether you are an alliance where you can come alongside us, shoulder to shoulder, arm to arm,
Mhm.
to help people become homeowners. I'd like to take the opportunity right now and just say that. I created a nonprofit. It's called Our Brook Cares. And Our Brook Cares will be partnering with community alliances, developers alike to continue educating home buyers. We are in the process of becoming a HUD certified instructor for the home buying counseling, which will be accredited by HUD. So for those organizations, financial institutions that are offering down payment closing cost assistance, and also those municipalities, if you are looking for a HUD approved counseling agency, we will be that. So, I was on live last evening, Chris, speaking with an attorney. She's a wealth building attorney. And, NAREB stands for that as well, building wealth. Building wealth together. How can we empower one another and push one another up? And I have always thought and knew that the church is a staple in the community. The church is a staple in the community, not
Right.
only to help people vote and encourage people to vote, but for home ownership, because it is a part. The word of God says, God told Abraham, look out there as far as your eyes can see. It is yours. It's yours for the asking. And I truly believe that for home ownership, every place that our feet trod, we should own it. We should not rent to own, but own to rent. But I understand because of generations past, and we have always said and identified that some people just have really bad habits. But that's
Right.
what education is for. That's what consultation is for. And we know that action, action changes things. So we are wanting to empower people to take action, to take the reins back of their financial future, first by becoming a homeowner, because we know home ownership is the number one way to gain wealth. And equity, home ownership, the equity out of home ownership, for our counterpartners is up there. And so if we're not in a position to buy a home, then there goes the majority of our wealth building. So we need to empower people to be in that position. But anyway, back to the attorney. We were talking about succession planning for pastors, succession planning for churches. Do you know that a lot of, especially in the Black church, a lot of our pastors die broke, they die alone, they die from heart attacks. And, people understand that they have a call on their life,
Right.
but there's still the business side of things.
Mhm.
So, the attorney was just admonishing boards and board members, the leadership in churches, to please sit down, make sure that their bylaws include a plan. And this segues right into what you do, Chris. Have a plan in place for insurance. Her example was a church pastor passed. He didn't have a will. There was no succession plan in place for the people. They were scattered, so there goes a whole church by the wayside. So key man insurance is important. And how all this ties in, yes, the church being a voice, amplify your voice to teach your people how to gain wealth by becoming a homeowner. But it's line upon line, precept upon precept. We got to have our house in order in terms of our personal finances, and the house in order in terms of the church. So can you talk a little bit about the key man insurance?
Key man insurance is essentially is a form of life insurance. And let's back up a little bit. Key man insurance wouldn't necessarily be for the pastor. It might be for the person that the pastor leans on, or in any business. It's like our Brook Realty, the key man insurance wouldn't be for you, but it might be your right-hand person. However, you still need to have life insurance for yourself, for the whether it be yourself or for that pastor who would need to have that. And like I said, in fact, it was funny. I was on a discussion with my fraternity. We have a prayer call every Wednesday, and we were talking about that. We have several pastors in my fraternity who chapter that I pledged that the pastors, they were talking about that. And sometimes when you have these conversations, sometimes people get squeamish in the church. Oh, you're talking about money, you're talking about business and stuff like that. And that's one thing we have to kind of grow up and kind of get more mature too, spiritually as well, to understand, like you said earlier, it is a business aspect to the church as well. Now, if that's your main focus, I don't want to get on the soapbox, but you're talking about that too much, where you're talking about too much prosperity and stuff like that, you get in the way of helping the people. That's a whole story for a different day. We're just talking about the nuts and the bolts and the basics. Like you said, if the pastor dies or something were to happen, do we have a plan in place so that the church can continue? Like you said, you don't have to fold up the tents and shut down, or you're trying to sell the church to somebody else because you couldn't stay in those doors. So once again, it's actually a form of life insurance for the the right hand person of that individual, or like the pastor needs to have insurance. And some of the pastors on the call were talking about that. They said, and we in the Black community sometimes, I know other ethnicities do it, don't think twice about it. But somebody, well, why do the pastor need a, ask somebody, get a life insurance policy for the church based on what you just said now? Because if something happened, hey, and even some people have made, I've seen other churches do this too. Sometimes they'll have some of the parishioners sometimes get life insurance policies. They might have several. I've known for a fact that people have done that, get a life insurance policy, and they'll put the beneficiary as the church or the organization. You see that happen all the time.
Wow.
Other organizations. So, sometimes we're a little bit late to the party when it comes to that, and everything. So I'm not saying that we're trying to, for lack of better terms, trying to manipulate our congregation, anything like that.
No, we're educating. But
educating,
when we think about it, and this is all relative to being empowered in 2022, preparing for 2022, recharging for home ownership. I mean, it starts with what? Having your stuff in order, like your credit, your finances. Right. So it is all relevant. But
well, I'm gonna tell you one thing too. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
But I'm gonna use myself as an example. You probably heard me say this before. Because I used to be the one too, and I had to evolve. I had to grow. So I'm talking to myself as well, because initially I used to have a problem with people, like, well, they want my debit card to get my tithe and offering. I'm just gonna write them a check. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. Or people saying they have ATMs at the church and stuff like that. And I was all out on that. I was thinking, okay, once again, they're trying to pin me. They're trying to take my money. This years and many moons ago, like I said, I have matured myself, because I had to realize too, as a Christian, as a spiritual person, if I'm giving my money for the right intent to the house of the Lord, I've done my job. Now they do something, misappropriate the funds. Now that pastor or whoever have to deal with God from that standpoint. But I used to have a problem, using debit card. I'm telling you what happened, how we started doing it is because one time we didn't have any checks, and we we want to pay it. It was easy to use the debit card, just to pay our tithes, use your bank account. So it's actually it was easier, but I was closed-minded.
You talking good. You took the words right out of my mouth. I was just getting ready to say you had a mind shift. And I think a lot of people don't own homes for illiteracy or for mind shifts they're not willing to come out of. Some people's like, well, look, if you can't take the paper application, I'm not going to buy, or this is too hard. Right. We let the computer, we let technology, our inability to use technology keep us out of the promises. So it is time for us to overcome. I call it the stinking thinking, and get into to get into the mind. It's not a reprimand, but you know what? If we don't speak the truth in love, and you do that very well, if we don't create the pathway for somebody else to follow, no one else will. So yes, our churches have a voice in communities, as some churches are closing. I mean, you still have a voice online, still empower the people to home ownership. So I just want to talk about some other things in preparation for 2022. I know some people may want to, maybe they're beyond home ownership and they want to invest. What is the outlook for investing? And what is the outlook for, the pinata to break for all of those foreclosures, to come running to them? It's not going to happen like people think. I mean, we're just not in the same era as we are with 2007 and 8 when the bottom fell out of things. There wasn't the PPP loan. There wasn't all of these stimuluses. There wasn't a lot of these monetary measures in place. Plus, like I said, employers are on the side of the road with signs, basically, come to work. Will you please come to work? So jobs are here. People, if they're not on a job, they just don't want to work. So, and
good jobs.
Yeah, the modifications, the deferment, even before you get to foreclosure, there's an opportunity for a short sale. So there's so many ways to save people's homes that I just don't think that all of those foreclosures in great numbers in the mass are going to come down the pipeline. So what can people who want to invest do? There are savvy ways to invest in real estate. there are savvy ways. There are NTFs. There's the digital currencies, there's the metaverse. Now we're getting into things that are totally, out of the box in terms of investing. But the traditional investing, I do see people coming together in greater numbers in investment groups and investment clubs, pooling their money. People are willing now to take a little bit less on profit, as though they were doing it themselves, but they're inviting
Right.
2, 3 to 12 people together. Hey, let's pool our money. Let's go rehab this home, fix it up, sell it. And they're taking lower profits, but it's still out there. There are some homes that are still out there, but maybe the margin on the profits are going to be much less. There are some foreclosure auction sites, but there are rules and regulations. You have to play by the rules.
Right.
Most of those properties are probably going to be in more rural areas. It's even a good time to invest outside of this region in DFW where prices are inflated. You're not going to find those great deals that you did.
I know people going up to Oklahoma. I know people going up to Oklahoma. Yeah, doing
people
that.
are going to Oklahoma. There are people going offshore. There's people going international. It's a great time to invest in real estate internationally. And actually at 2 p.m. on a different platform, I actually be talking about the basics to real estate investing. So that's what I see coming down the pipeline for those who want to purchase a home. Is if it's residential, if these interest rates are going to tap you out of the market, just wait patiently. Don't go get that large vehicle. Don't change your job, not unless you're going into business, right? And it's something that people want. A lot of people are in love with an idea that nobody wants. And we just are being real here, because you will take a step off of your job where you have history. Maybe you are underpaid, but out of those 5 C's for the credit, the capacity, you have to show that, number one, you've paid your bills on time, and you have to show a lender that you just don't job hop all over the place. So, sink your heels in, get that 2 years of longevity in place so that you can be in position, not if, but when the economy lifts, you are the first person that's getting your application approved. So, Chris, what else do you have?
Well, kind of going back to what you said. Now, if you are going to switch jobs, make sure you stay in the same industry. Because if it's a lateral move, you're okay from that standpoint. But if you go from insurance to trying to be a real estate or whatever, it might be a good opportunity. But then you have to kind of weigh the cost of what you're trying to do. But one thing I've been seeing too, I've been working with a lot of my customers, which you're going to probably happy to hear, talking about equity in homes. And I've had customers who've gotten pretty savvy from that standpoint too, of taking the equity out of their home and then using that money from their home to buy properties, whether it be commercial or whether it be to buy a house for rental properties and things of that nature too. So one of the things I saw some people doing, like I told people, if you're going to be moving, selling your house, make sure that, because a lot of people are like, I'm selling my house now, I can, make $300,000, but sometimes when you're trying to use that $300,000 is actually going to buy another house, but it might be as good as that you already have. So you need to be cognizant of that from that standpoint. But I tell people too, make sure, if you're going to do it, make sure it's going to be financially conducive and it's going to make sense. I had one customer, talking to you guys all the time. I told a couple of people, as I said, if I was you, but I'm not you, if it was me and I were you, I would not sell my house because, you have a lot of equity that you're going to get out of it. But the thing is, where are you going to go? And in fact, one of my customers ended up having to bite the bullet because his wife's like, okay, I'm through with this process. She said she gave her husband a little bit of time, and they went for a while. She said, I'm ready to be. They were staying in an apartment, but that's where you have to make a decision too as a couple. Are we going to stick it out? Are we going to fight? But he knew he was kind of between a rock and a hard place, and he thought the time frames were going to change. Like we anticipated maybe that a lot of people thought, the bottom's going to eventually drop out, and it's not dropping out. And that was a problem. We need to get in the house. And
people are standing still like a pillar of salt, waiting for the big boom, the crash, and it never happened. And that was 2020. That was early
Yep.
2020 that people have been waiting. The market may have blinked for a second and then it shot
Exactly.
up and it hasn't ceased. It really
No.
hasn't.
Mm-mm.
So, just to kind of piggyback off of what you're saying, being financially literate, being financially stable and astute, I think that's the best gift we can give prospective buyers. Pay
Right.
down, use this opportunity. If you're not quite ready, use this opportunity to pay down debt. Don't go increase the
Yep.
debt. And I know a budget is a budget, and whatever you want in your lifestyle, whatever you want to make happen will happen within that budget. So if lavish vacations are in the budget, then that's your business. That's their business. That's
Mm-hmm.
people's business. But if you're trying to prepare for a home, that debt to income ratio matters. So you
Right.
either got to increase the income substantially while you're simultaneously decreasing the debt. I mean, that is empowering. And
Right.
disciplining ourselves to keep the cards down under the 30% utilization. And I'll go back to don't walk off your job. And I know
Yeah.
you were saying, Chris, if it's in the same industry, but I believe if our friend Rhonda was here, the lone lioness, she would say that you just have to make sure that your self-employment income is going to suffice and give you the buying
Mm-hmm.
power that you need in order to qualify. So, and the reason I said that is a lot of people who are not going back to work or transitioning, walking off their jobs, Chris, they don't have the 2 years of
Mm-hmm.
positive cash flow on their Schedule C to even, qualify. So, yes, maybe you did have a great idea and you have a lot of expenses. We know,
Mm-hmm.
right, Chris? We're looking for write-offs. And as you
Right.
look for all of those write-offs, you may reduce your taxable income, but what you've just done is decrease your buying power because you may have shown 300,000 in revenue or income, but you got 250,000 in
Right.
write-offs. And I'm being really, overextended with my thinking here. But the fact
Not
is, if
really.
you
Not
can
really.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if you can show that amount of income coming in, that's great. But remember that those deductions are going to hurt. And that's why we need to talk to financial advisors and have a great CPA that's doing taxes. They will tell you, hey, what is your goal? What is your objective? And based on your goal, I know you're able to write off 250,000 in write-offs, but if your
Mm-hmm.
goal is to buy a home and you know that the lender has told you, between you and your wife, you and your husband, y'all
Mm-hmm.
need to show a positive net cash flow or net income of 150,000, then you will look at what you're writing off different. And again, we're not financial advisors. We advise you
Mm-hmm.
to plug in and get one, but it starts with planning. If we're going to prepare for 2022, we got to plan the work the plan, and
Right.
nothing works. The plan don't work unless we work it.
Right.
So yeah.
And it's key what you said. I said what you just said a few minutes ago. I said, not really. You hit the nail on the head because I actually did a talk for some entrepreneurs a few weeks ago. I was partnering with Chase, and I was doing the insurance portion. Of course, they had somebody from Chase was actually talking about some other things, and that's one of the discussions we're having. And we talked about what you just said. And it's called being, if I'm not mistaken, the term was called being bankable. And one of the
Mm,
guys that was talking about that, he was saying, he said, whether it be from, of course, we're talking about from a commercial standpoint, but once again, there's going to be an opportunity too to use your equity to do some commercial stuff as well. So it's some other things that you're going to be doing from that standpoint. We might talk about that on the next show, but that's what it's
right.
about, being bankable. Because if you're doing what you just said, you're showing too many write-offs. You're trying to save money on your taxes and stuff like that. But then you go to the bank for a loan or get a line of credit. They're going to look at your history and they're going to like, okay, like you said, that's not too far off the mark. Where some people do write off so much, then they try to get that credit line or that loan, they're not bankable. So the bank's gonna be like, hey, you might need to regroup and try to do some other things and come back and haul us a little bit later on. So, you got to be savvy, you got to be smart about what you're doing. And one thing, I'm gonna give NAREB a plug, the National Association of Real Estate Brokers. what's so integral and key about this organization, whether you're a realtor or you just Joe Blow just trying to learn. This is a perfect organization to be tapped into because you have resources there for people to help you. You know, a lot of people get caught up because they say, well, I don't want to be they're a realtor. There's too many realtors in the organization, or it's too many mortgage people, it's too many insurance people. I
Yeah,
tell people all the time, it's enough business out there for everybody.
exactly,
You know,
Chris.
and the thing is, what's so great about being an organization like this with other professionals who are even in your same profession is that sometimes you can bounce things off of each other, you know, because sometimes you can hear something that's going on with somebody else that you didn't run into. So you with a group of people, who, you know, if you truly have a heart for the organization, that are trying to do
Right.
what you're doing and trying to not only be successful for themselves and help people to be successful as well. And that's just the key. And would it be you, me, or Rhonda, an organization? You know, I've had people come to the organization. I'm not getting any business out of the organization. Well, and
What
that's your
did
main
you what
being
did
there.
what did you put in?
But would you put exactly? And that's your main reason for being there. Excuse me. You know, that's not an organization for you. And not to try to be a hard butt, but you know, we've been on some of these calls or at meetings, and you know, I've made a comment. You know, one time we had lost some people, and they were like, "Well, we lost people. What are we going to do to get them back?" I said, "It depends on why they left. If they left
Mm,
because of some situations where they weren't in position to do certain things at that time, yeah, let's go get them. But if it was somebody who didn't have a heart for the organization, let them go because they were a hindrance anyway."
absolutely. Got to have the right people in place to move that needle. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I tell you, this has been excellent.
Excuse
Again,
me.
we are Realtists Creating Pathways to Home Ownership. And we are here every second and fourth Tuesday, 12 noon Central Standard Time. We say it's the hour of power. We want to give a shout out to our president, Miss Laura Washington. We thank God for her and her commitment and how she labors in love
Yeah,
for this mission along with us. Y'all come alongside us, join this organization. We need more hands to the
right.
plow, we need more voices. And it's just a great place to be. Chris, would you just simply share some announcements, things that are coming down the pipeline?
You were reading my mind. So one thing, kind of we were talking about earlier, we're going to actually, you know, depending on how the Omicron variant and all the other issues are going on, we're supposed to be trying to have our first live meeting face to face in over a year in February. So, you know, keep it TBD to be determined. So keep your eyes and ears open for that. But, you know, if we don't, we still do meet via Zoom, you know, if we're not able to do that. So definitely want people to join, you know, the National Association for Real Estate Brokers from that standpoint, and just chime in and just come in and see what it's all about to see, you know, if it's going to be a fit for you from that standpoint. And, you know, me being biased, I can't see why it wouldn't be a fit for somebody, but hey, that's just me. But we do have the midwinter conferences coming up. It's going to be right here in our backyard this year in San Antonio. It's going to be March 1st to the 4th, you know, and they have an early bird special right now. I think this Friday is the last date. I think it's $3.99, I think, for the early bird special. And of course, it's going to go up after that. So I'm going to try my best to be there this year. And then I think, if I'm not mistaken, the national meeting for NAREB is going to be in Houston. So we have two things here
Right.
in the state of Texas, you know, in our backyard. So I'm really looking forward to that because sometimes it's been situations and times I haven't been able to do it because of the work schedule, but because it's so close. I mean, that's a drive. So Houston, anywhere from 4 to 4.5 hours. San Antonio, maybe about a 5-hour drive, you know. Be a good time to get away and maybe take your spouse, your family, you know, where y'all can kind of do some of the business stuff from the Midwinter Conference, the NAREB business. But then, you know, you got Six
Hey,
Flags San Antonio down there, and you got stuff in Houston as well. So it'd be an awesome opportunity because I haven't been to a national meeting yet or a regional meeting. That's why I'm looking so excited to be there because they said I just think it's wonderful from a local level, but then they said when you get to that national level and that the regional level, it just takes it to a whole different, you know,
right.
mindset, you know, thought process, and I'm just looking forward to that as well.
Awesome. Yeah, we do. We have to step into those seats in those roles and be the change that we want to see happen. And Chris has been amazing, you know, from the chamber, from to BWT now at NAREB, you know, to
Uh-huh.
do life with you. You are so impactful and well connected. And I just love your heart for change. And I believe we're going to see some things change here in
Oh,
the
yeah.
North County area.
Yes,
We
indeed.
just got to keep people, inspired about their dream, keep hope alive. And, even if people are going to be affected by this
Uh-huh.
interest rate hike, you got to keep the plan in place and don't deviate from it. I encourage people to do a vision board, to keep that house before them, because it's
Yeah.
something about getting up every day, looking at a mental picture of a promise. And it's just something that happens naturally. We begin to gravitate to those people, those places, those things in order
Yeah.
to accomplish that goal. So yeah, that's real. So thank you guys again for coming. We're gonna close out. I'm Rosalind Booker, Rosby, as Rosby, and I am the principal broker CEO of Arbrook Realty. We're a full service real estate company here in the Collin County area, and we serve surrounding cities. Happy to say that we have served so many clients, even during the pandemic, helping people achieve their dreams right here, right here, right here.
Yes,
And
indeed.
also the director of Arbrook Cares. We just got our determination letter from the IRS. It's 501c3. So thank you, those financial institution, banks, organizations that want to partner for renters to become homeowners. We are here, we are open, we're ready, taking volunteers ourselves. So Chris, in Rhonda's absence, you want to do her little commercial?
So, hey, the Loan Lines with, Paramount Residential Mortgage Group, she is one of the best mortgage people out there, bar none. I'm not gonna roar like she does, but we miss her being on here today. But like I said, the
Miss
thing is,
Rhonda.
she missed her, and she tried to bite off me a little bit, but she believes in education and consultation as well, and which we all do. Like I said, I'm not a salesperson, I'm a consultant, because like I said, if you don't think you're a fit, I don't think you're a fit. I'll try to get you to the person who will be the best fit for you, and that's just the thing. And you'll hear too many agents say that, because a lot of times people, they're all about grabbing that money and getting that dollar, and that's just not me. So we miss Rhonda, and looking forward to having her here in a couple of weeks back on the show again. But once again, I'm Chris Ziegler with the Ziegler Agency Allstate, located in Frisco, Texas, serving the DFW Metroplex and the whole state of Texas. And my motto is customer service with a personal touch. And I believe in education and consultation as well. So give me a call at 214-870-4269 for all your insurance needs. I do it from stem to stern. I do your personal stuff like your home, your auto, your renter's insurance, your boats, your toys. I do financial products. I do life insurance. I do supplemental insurance. We got a product that competes with one of the duck out there as well. And I do bonds. And like I said, I do it all. Give me a call. I do pretty much everything. And it's not just me. You might say, man, you got a lot of stuff going on, but I have a strong staff, not just myself, that, backs me up. I got a strong office manager and people on my staff as well that will take care of you. And, you say jack of all trades and the master of
Yeah,
none, but we're the master of all. So
I,
we're going to make
I
sure
hear
you get taken care of. So we're going to make sure
I
you definitely
hear
get taken care of. And before we leave, I do want to remind you guys too, we're starting the code drive, so you can drop off codes starting now today at 8750 West Main Street in Frisco, Texas, zip code 75034. But you can also reach out to me by phone at 214-870-4269. And we will have the final drop off on Saturday, the 29th of January from 11 until 2. It's a festive occasion. We go out and we have a good time and just kind of hang out. And look forward to, you guys being there. We are going to be servicing services of hope, street side showers, and community lifeline center in McKinney as well. So I try to do it to where we hit somewhere everybody in all different parts of the metroplex, so we really can get this done. So
that's
it's something
awesome.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Roz.
No, I said that's awesome. That is so awesome. No one left behind. So that's all we have time for today. We'll see you the second Tuesday of January. That's the 11th, high noon, for our hour of power. Y'all take care and let's get recharged in 2022. Bye-bye.